Everton hit with a big 10-point deduction. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yesterday's big breaking news story comes from Everton Football Club, who have been hit with a 10-point deduction after a Premier League independent commission has allegedly found them guilty of an alleged breach of Premier League profit and sustainability ruling. We had heard previously that Everton was seemingly in a bit of hot water with the Premier League over breaches in some financial fair play rulings, and a points deduction did seem on the cards should they be found guilty. Well, today the ruling has been passed, the punishment has been laid down, and a 10-point penalty is what Everton are currently facing right now, which will leave the Toffees in the relegation zone, only above Burnley on goal difference. We're going to be talking about this points deduction. We're going to be talking about Everton's response. We're going to be talking about other teams which may be casting a very interested eye over the proceedings of this particular case and maybe monitoring the situation for their own interest. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always and very greatly appreciated. Get involved as well. Would love to hear your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on this particular matter down below in the comments section, because I'm sure it'll make for interesting and great reading from you guys. Otherwise, let's get on with the video. Let's talk this Everton points deduction. Let me just say first and foremost, it's the fans ultimately that suffer. I do feel sorry for the Everton fans in this situation, because ultimately this is the fault, if they are to be found truly guilty, this is the fault of the people in power. This is the fault of the people that are behind the scenes running the club, the so-called brains behind the operation, that have ultimately put your club at risk of something like this potentially happening. It's nothing to do with the fans, and for that reason I feel sorry for you. But I do also want to say that if they are in fact guilty of this, then there needs to be the correct and fair punishment handed out in this situation, and in all situations that are similar that will come up in the very near future. We shouldn't be hypocrites about this. We shouldn't just say it should be one rule for one rule for the other. If Everton have breached FFP, then the club deserve to be punished. The similar way that I'd be saying it if it was my club of Liverpool. If Liverpool were found to be guilty of any sort of breach in FFP or anything along those lines, they should be punished. Same with Man City, same with Arsenal, same with any other club that does this. They should be punished. There needs to be the hammer of justice being brought down in these kind of situations fully, properly, efficiently and consistently in these matters, and I'm hoping that this will be the case in this case and other cases going forward. Is 10 points a little harsh though? Again, I don't know the devil in the detail, but if it is, fair enough. If it isn't, a points deduction maybe. Or is this just a case of the Premier League making an example of a club like Everton? And I will go on to talk about the Manchester City stuff in a little while, but that was just obviously something that has been thrown up in sort of the kind of comment section, I guess you like, of various social media pages, when of course this story broke earlier on today. Is this just the Premier League making a case out of Everton? Everton certainly feel that this is unjustified and that the punishment is very severe and unfair. They released a statement. In a nutshell, it basically says that they are annoyed by what they found today, what the punishment has been laid down before them today. They are also unclear and frustrated at the fact that certain things seemingly weren't communicated by the Premier League to them in accordance with the Premier League investigation that went before them in terms of trying to find the truth of this particular matter, and they say that they are going to appeal this particular punishment. I'll read the statement out here. Everton Football Club is both shocked and disappointed by the ruling of the Premier League's Commission. The club believes that the Commission has imposed a wholly disproportionate and unjust sporting sanction. The club has already communicated its intention to appeal the decision to the Premier League. The appeal process will now commence, and the club's case will be heard by an appeal board appointed pursuant to the Premier League's rules in due course. Everton maintains that it has been open and transparent in the information it has provided to the Premier League and that it has always respected the integrity of the process. The club does not recognise the finding that it failed to act with the utmost good faith, and it does not understand this to have been an allegation made by the Premier League during the course of the proceedings. Both the harshness and severity of the sanction imposed by the Commission are neither a fair nor a reasonable reflection of the evidence submitted. The club will also monitor with great interest the decisions made in any other cases concerning the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Everton cannot comment on this matter any further until the appeal process has concluded. So there does seem to be a bit of miscommunication and a bit of cross wires between the Premier League and the way that they investigated it and Everton in terms of the information given. Premier League are seemingly, according to Everton in this statement, are suggesting that Everton weren't exactly cooperative in the investigation process, which Everton seem to claim that they actually were, and that there is some sort of miscommunication between them there. They say they're going to go on to appeal. They feel that the punishment is very harsh and extremely severe, and then go on to throw an interesting comment of the fact that they will watch with great interest the decisions made in any other cases concerning the Premier League's profit and sustainability rulings, seemingly any other FFP rulings. That, of course, we know the Premier League are investigating certain other teams that may be in breach of even more financial fair play rulings in terms of the numbers that have been breached and maybe even more interestingly the severity of those rules that have been breached. We'll talk about that a little bit later. For Everton, the appeal process could be interesting. We have seen time and time again where points deductions have been reduced because things have been overlooked. It could even mean that maybe they get the entire points deduction wiped completely if obviously they take this one step further, which they are going to, and they provide the correct evidence to suggest that they actually not broken any rulings. I would imagine a points deduction probably will be, from the sounds of things, maybe not 10 points to the severity that is, but maybe something a little bit less, because this is actually the biggest points deduction in Premier League history at this current moment in time. So I guess that will probably be the case there. And on a footballing level, Everton dropped down into the relegation zone. Yes, they have been a little better performance and results-wise in recent weeks. They've actually picked up a few good points here and there in certain games you wouldn't expect them to. I said a few weeks ago I would worry for them if it's a big points deduction, and it could hit them at the wrong time of the season. I actually now see it as being, they're seemingly getting to grips with what Sean Dyche is trying to implement. The team is starting to become stronger, and I personally believe that there are at least 3 worse teams than Everton right now in the Premier League, a few games after, of course, this whole news kind of broke originally, in which I said that I would fear that Everton's days as a Premier League team may be numbered. This points deduction sees them drop into the relegation zone. They're still above Burnley, and that kind of tells me all I need to know about Burnley. But I'm not entirely convinced by the likes of the newly promoted teams as well in Sheffield United and Luton. So on a footballing basis, I think Everton will relatively be fine if this points deduction is obviously to be completely 100% and truly carried out. But away from that, and in terms of looking at other teams, it is interesting because Everton's case seems to have been dealt with in a very quick and a very swift fashion. Obviously, one ruling is easier to investigate than, say, 115. But even so, are you seriously telling me that after a year to a year and a half of us knowing about Manchester City's 115 alleged breaches, there isn't enough evidence on some of those cases to not have a points deduction, like what you've done with Everton here? Why are you trying to build this whole Manchester City case up? Why are you trying to use the entirety of the 115 cases against them in one major courtroom drama? This isn't ITV. This isn't BBC. This is not a drama that is going to unfold before our very eyes in about 8 to 12 different episodes of a courtroom drama. This is real life, and this is obviously something that you've now made even more serious because you've gone out and you've punished Everton for one breach of FFP, whereas the likes of Chelsea and Manchester City, who I know are being investigated, but have had quite a few allegations thrown at them in recent times, and yet you're trying to build them all up. Are you seemingly saying that they can't be punished as of here and now on the certain cases that you should have investigated by now? Why are you trying to build it all up as 115? It's alright punishing Everton if they've done something wrong. I get that. 100% understand, and I 100% get that. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't now follow this up with the same consistency in terms of speed and the same consistency in terms of punishment, that Manchester City probably are looking over this case and a bit like, oh, hang on a minute here, we could be in a bit of trouble. Because if they're getting 10 points for breaching one rule, if they're found guilty of all 115 as a worst case scenario, and maybe even more that they may find in the investigation, they will be playing Sunday League football. They'll be playing amateur Sunday League football at this rate, will Man City. So I call for the Premier League to offer the same level of speed and consistency that you've thrown at Everton here with other cases. And I'm not just talking about Manchester City, I'm not just talking about Chelsea, but anybody who is found guilty of breaching these types of rulings, I will say that there needs to be an element of a swift and justified punishment, and obviously investigation to that punishment for all of these types of proceedings. Because otherwise, you're showing another case of hypocrisy, you're showing another case of inconsistency, and it's going to be laughable. And especially in Man City's case, because it's a lot worse when they've obviously built the major foundation of the past 10 to 15 years of them winning trophies, being a major player in the Premier League, being a major player in European football, based off of potentially some of those breaches in FFP that have seen them go on to lift trophy after trophy after league title, whilst Everton, yes, they floundered, yes, they fell on some really bad times recently, but the fans are the ones that suffer the most for the club's wrongdoings, for the ownership's wrongdoings, for the people behind the scenes' wrongdoings. Act accordingly, act consistently, and act fairly. That's all I ask from this investigation from the Premier League in regards to Everton and anybody else who breaches these. We need answers. We definitely need more answers now in regards to other, and with all due respect, bigger issues in these kinds of rulings and breaches or alleged breaches of rulings in other teams like Chelsea, like Man City, and we need swift. We need a swift investigation that leads to a fair punishment if needs be. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this entire Everton situation? What do you make of the breach in the FFP ruling? What do you make of the punishment? What do you make of the appeal? What do you make of other teams which may be casting a bit of a sly eye and monitoring the situation? I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on this particular matter down below in the comment section, because I'm sure it'll make it interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, want to see more content like this. Both things are always ever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone so much for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.